gone off of data.
That's okay.
All right.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. So here we are again, Wine Wednesday and real estate.
Yay.
Cheers.
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 Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers to all of you.
Cheers. So we have someone in the background watching and Snapchatting us on our Snapchat.
It's a sneak guess.
Sneak. So you will have to find it on Snapchat to see the other view of what's happening here. So anyway, welcome everyone.
And I'm also live on Instagram.
Oh.
Yes.
What's your Instagram handle?
I am 43 homes.
That's weird.
Yes. Although it says checking connection, so don't go right now.
Give it a second. They'll tell you when. So today's topic is mistakes that sellers can make.
Don't forget to ask questions while we're doing this, though, so that you can be entered in the drawing for Valentine's chocolates from Winans, just downstairs from our office.
So, yes, I feel like I get very distracted trying to see what's going on my phone and what's happening here. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, I got yelled at. I wasn't texting.
You're not texting. And last week it kept kicking me out on my phone. So so you're just gonna have to all bear with us. But anyway, today's topics: mistakes sellers can make, because there are none. So
No.
We'll see you next week.
We're just gonna go drink now.
There are a few. There are a few.
Yes.
So anyone want to start this conversation anywhere?
I'll go.
Anyone?
I'll go.
Anyone?
Me.
Okay. Wait.
So, price.
Big one.
Pretty important.
Number one, I think. Yes,
So,
number one.
So, you can do all kinds of things wrong with price. You can price too low, you can price too high. We're in a seller's market. You can, not wait for other people to get a chance to see your house. So what do you guys think? What do you think price mistakes people make common?
Pricing too high. For sure. One of the things about this business is you can put whatever price you want on a house, really. You could put $1 million on a house if you'd like to, but are you going to get that?
Right.
Are you going to sell?
Probably not.
Will you get showings? If the house is $1 million house, then yes. But if you have a home, say in the typical subdivision, that might be what price? 200,
250, 300.
250, 300 in there. No, you won't get $1 million for that house. Sorry.
No.
So as real estate agents, one of the things we do when looking at pricing a home is run the comparables, right? We look at all the properties in your neighborhood that are comparable to yours. Bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, what else would
Updates.
Updates, age of home. Obviously a more updated home might command more money than something that is still in the same condition as it was when it was built. So we look at all those factors when pricing a home and we give you a suggestion, but ultimately we have to do what you want.
Right.
As the seller. So if you want to price a home $50,000 above what we are suggesting, we have to do that. Do you guys feel like there's indications that maybe a house is priced too high?
Well, in this market, if you're not getting showings right away, or even an offer within the first, week to 2 weeks, I think it's a very strong indication you've missed the mark on your price. And I tell my sellers, we can do all the estimates and looking at comps that we want, but ultimately the market's going to determine what your home is worth.
Right.
And I tell my sellers who want to list higher than what I say the house is worth, we'll do it. But for this to really work for you, we need to act pretty swiftly if those things aren't happening. If we're not getting showings, that's a major indicator.
Yeah.
Because things are moving very quickly right now, pretty much across the board in Central Ohio.
Right.
And then B, if you're getting a bunch of showings and you're not getting an offer, you probably need to look at the price, or maybe there's some, pay attention to your feedback. You should be getting feedback from the people coming through. And they'll tell you, honestly, which problems you're having, if it's price or condition or something along those lines.
Feedback is a good thing
Yes.
to pay attention to, for sure. So yeah, that's definitely, I always tell sellers there's definitely, the market is very clear about where you need to be price wise. So we need to listen to that and make adjustments as necessary with that. So.
And when you're setting that price, keep in mind we can't do it blind. So we can look at the square footage, we can look at where your house is located, but unless we get in and we see the inside and we see what's going on in there with updates and how it's going to appear to someone when they see the house, it's not going to be a good price.
Right, yeah. You can give averages and say, you know, things in your neighborhood are selling from this to this, or, you know, whatever, but yeah, so sometimes you'll see advertised, ask for a free CMA, or, you know, let me provide you what your home value might be. But really all we can do is just an average with that. It's not going to be the specific price for your home because, as TJ said, unless we get in there, we just really have no idea how you compare to the comparables. We have so many screens all over the place.
I know, right?
Happening.
We've got 3 live Facebook, a monitor here to see your comments, and also live on Instagram. So.
And people are watching. And
Yes,
Michelle,
I
I will tell you everything you need to know. So she's watching, trying to get all that
You have
information.
good eyes. I can't see.
Well, I got it here.
Oh.
It's not kicking me out this week. So, all right. So another thing that possibly could be a mistake that a seller might make is not preparing their home for viewing.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, what do you guys do about that? What? Oh. Like, why is Wayne so happy?
I spy.
Those are like the craziest things ever.
So what's your handle on Snapchat? Are you doing the Snapchat now?
Yes, CMH Urban Girl.
CMH Urban Girl on Snapchat. So if you're on the Snapchat, there's another place you can go see us.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a new tech toy that we're getting access to today that I'm really interested in purchasing, finding.
The
And she looks
Snapchat spectacles. Is that what they're called? So all the kids are wearing to the beach this year.
Really, they're a little tinted, so I don't know that I'd wear them, you know, doing this. But it's pretty cool. So that's what we have going on in the background.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So what do you think that means? I mean, what does that mean to you exactly? The not prepared for viewing. I mean, is that prior? Is it during? Is it? What do you guys think?
All of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think you got to keep it clean. You got to keep your house clean. You got to put away, you know, the clutter, things you don't want people to see. So don't leave your dirty drawers laying all over your bedroom. And believe us, we've seen it all at this point. So
I don't know that I've seen that.
well,
have you seen it?
I have.
It happens.
well,
Yeah.
So keep it clean.
Yeah.
And not just the first day. I think everybody gets excited. They do all this work for the first, you know, day of showings.
Right.
But you really got to keep it that way. And in this market, things are moving so fast.
Right.
People don't always schedule showings far in advance. So you just have to be prepared and not be slacking off, you know, in between. So
Yeah.
because you just never know when the next showing's going to come. And you just need to be ready.
I would also suggest that prior to listing in the MLS, when we come to have pictures taken, definitely have the house cleaned up.
Yes.
Because it is really hard to sell your home online when that's what people are looking at and you haven't done anything to prepare. You know, and we've seen it. I mean, but pictures are going to be the first impression that people have of your home. So you don't want, as you were saying, clothes all over or, you know, not necessarily hiring a professional stager, but at least
Have us
clutter.
over to
Yeah, right.
you know, rearrange some furniture if it needs. You know, sometimes people have huge furniture in smaller rooms,
Right.
and you know, we may suggest, hey, you know, to sell, it's probably best to maximize your space here. If we just take this dresser or that side table out,
Right.
because you really want to make it appear as big as it is. You know, and by shoving a bunch of furniture in an area, you could really, you know, hamper your ability to get the best price for yourself. So.
To that end, another mistake that could possibly be made, and I don't know that this is the fault of the seller, but not having good photos of the listing. You know, sometimes hiring a professional photographer might be the best option for that. I have seen, and I don't know if you guys have too, but listings that are what are those pictures that even
the ones
describe
where
it?
it looks like people came in with their flip phone
Yeah.
and started snapping pictures.
Yeah.
Or my favorite are the bathroom pictures where you can see the agent or the person
In the
taking the
mirror.
picture in the mirror. Like, this is what it looked like when you're there in the morning.
Yeah,
You don't want to see that.
Yeah, it's really a disservice to the seller, I think, when you don't have, and again, there's a cost involved with hiring professional people to do these things, but at least as agents, I think that we should, if we're taking the pictures ourselves, at least.
For my listings, I always have professional photos, and I absorb that cost. That's not something I ask the seller to pay for. It's
Sure.
part of what you're getting, in the service that I provide, and I think, Ginny and TJ, often do that as well. Sometimes we take our own.
Right.
We all have good cameras and can
Right.
take professional photos, but sometimes it adds a little extra touch to have a photographer come in.
Absolutely.
But if that's on the flip side of that, like you said, if we're going to make that investment, we really would like to have the best photos we can have taken if we're going to pay someone to come in.
Yeah. There's only so much editing software can do. And I will admit, I've taken pictures off of walls that are crooked that you don't notice at the time of taking pictures, but yeah, I can't clean up the room,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of the way your house looks, don't be there for showings.
Yeah.
When people are coming to look at your house, they're coming to look at your house. They're not coming to get to know you. They're not coming to get to know your family. And it's really going to make them uncomfortable.
Obviously, there's some circumstances that happen where, you
Absolutely.
can't leave the house. Completely understandable.
But they should know ahead of time if that's going to be the case.
Right. I have had scenarios where I bring the buyer into a home and the seller is there, and
Awkward.
I mean, really, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's understandable if there's something preventing the seller from leaving, and completely fine. But if you have the option to leave.
Well, put yourself in the seller or in the buyer's position. When you're walking through the house and you're touring it for the first time, you want to have candid conversations with, the person you're buying with or your agent, and not be worried about someone listening to every word you're saying.
Right.
So, having a private showing is really what it's all about. So just don't be there. Sometimes it happens if the buyer gets there early and you just haven't got out yet. That's common and not so awful, but get out.
Please. And along those lines as well is another mistake sellers can make is being emotionally involved. And the reason that strikes me is because if you are in the house, you might hear something that you find offensive that the buyer might not like about your house. So, emotional involvement can happen when the inspections take place, the appraisal takes place. There are scenarios where you might get upset, and it's not personal. It's
None of it's personal. I mean,
This is business. This is a business transaction.
and your tastes don't necessarily match that of everyone else, and more than often they're not. So just don't take things personally.
Right.
Which I think is another mistake people make, is that you let the emotional attachment of the house get in the way of, what's really your best interest is, selling the house, getting the best price,
Right.
and starting that next chapter, whatever that might be. So too emotional in the process
Yeah.
is not necessarily a good thing. And that's why an agent's important, is we can help remove that emotion, adding a barrier between you and the other party. And I always say I'm equal parts sales,
Right.
real estate professional, and psychologist. And sometimes
Yes.
more psychologist
Than anything
than
else.
but,
Yeah. We're just sometimes a sounding board. So,
and I don't mind being it. It just,
Love
it's
it.
part of the game.
Yeah, it's hard, because there are situations that come up that can be upsetting to either the seller or the buyer. So it's really important to take that part out of the transaction because, again, it's not personal. You've lived in that home, you have had years and memories and things like that, and it's not, if someone's requesting something be fixed or changed, or maybe they're not satisfied with something that has never been a problem to you, it's not, it's a new person, it's a new house to them.
Right. Absolutely.
Before we go any further, ask questions. please leave them in the comments. And
Anyone?
you can save yourself from having to run out and buy your honey chocolates, because we're giving some away today. So
Or just
And
have it
they're
for
good.
yourself.
yes. Okay, there might be a couple salted caramel pieces missing today. No.
No, we're keeping the chocolates away from Wayne. Still, some salted
I
caramels.
have an addiction.
And it's horrible because it's right down the stairs
Yeah.
and to the right.
Yes. The
So,
Winans, though, we love Winans.
oh yeah,
Winans.
good coffee, good chocolate.
Yep.
So you'll be happy to win it
Yes.
for sure.
But leave a question in the comments, and we'll select one person from all the comments that are left between all of our live sessions here.
Throw them in a hat, mix them up, pull one out.
Pull one out.
Yeah.
So, all right. So other mistakes, people make here.
Hiding what's wrong. If there is a major hole in a wall, don't put a picture in front of it. Like, know that it's going to be found out. And then you need to recognize that it's something you're going to have to deal with. You can't just cover up the problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry, Terry. See, this is what happens. You get distracted. Terry says chocolates for everyone. Come on over. I'll buy you chocolate.
48 South High, come on over.
We're here.
Yep.
So yeah, no, that I know I had a transaction where there was when the sellers had moved out, we were doing the final walkthrough. There were some cracked tiles that had been conveniently hidden by a carpet. So there's stuff. I mean, and it wasn't intentional. It just was. And but the point is the buyers didn't see it in inspection or first walkthrough or at any point during the transaction. So, and then there's stuff too that you can potentially have legal trouble with after a transaction if you haven't disclosed it. We have the residential property disclosure that is to be filled out to the best of your knowledge. Honestly.
Yes.
Honestly, yes.
So
You're saving yourself headaches and problems by doing it up front.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the bottom line,
Yeah.
is that, we're all afraid of those little unknowns in the
Right.
house, because no one wants to have a major repair bill. But if you know about it, you are legally required to disclose it to
Right.
potential buyers, because if it affects the value or whether or not someone's going to buy your home, you really need to tell buyers. So,
Right.
foundation problems, water coming in the basement, even drainage in the backyard.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of a list of stuff that could potentially be wrong. And it's not even necessarily that it's still a problem. If it was a problem in the past and you fixed it, that's great. But include it on that property disclosure, because you don't want it to come up later. The problem comes back. And then I actually had an instance, a seller had a toilet leak, and it leaked into the room below. And the buyer had the same problem. And then it happened to be the same plumber that was the first time. And so, questions came up. Now, there was debatable about what that plumber actually did and all of that. It was a little bit of a he said, she said. But if you just disclose it up front, no matter how minor, you're going to save yourself a lot of headache.
When in doubt, disclose.
Yeah. And I I just sold and bought, my own house, and you better believe every last thing I knew went in there.
Yeah.
Because I don't want someone to come back on me. So.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It can be a very trying experience when you purchase this new home and then things come up after you're in it and moved in, and you think there's no way that they didn't know about that.
Right.
Before we go on to the next problem, though, related to this, someone asked me earlier when we previewed this, what do you think is the best improvement that someone can do to their house in order to get it ready to sell? So we're getting ready to sell. We can do one or two small things to the house. What's probably the best improvement that you would think someone could make to the house to get it ready to sell?
I think the best place to invest money would be kitchens and bathrooms. Buyers, that's what they're looking for. Those are usually the most expensive, though. So, paint is always a really good update you can do. Inexpensive. I don't know that, when we're talking about updating, we mean ripping out full
Yeah,
kitchens
don't-
and redesigning and new cabinets and countertops and that kind of stuff.
I
But
think there are instances where that makes
Sure.
sense. Bottom line is ask your realtor. You know, they're gonna be the ones that can really give you specific guidance. You know, certainly the paint and cleaning, damaged flooring, you know,
Right.
that kind of stuff. You know, think about when you walk through a house and you're considering buying a house. You know,
right,
things that distract you from the real value in the house, I think, are the things that you really should focus on. You know, if you've got big gouges, you know, in a linoleum or cracked tiles, you know, in your entry, you open the door, the first thing you see, immediately that puts the buyer on look for what else is wrong
Yeah.
with the house. So, those little cosmetic things that aren't like that huge of a fix, you know, I say get it done before you even list the house, because the old adage of never having a chance to make a second chance to make a first impression is very true. And make a good first impression. So whether that's the paint, cleaning, all those things,
Yeah.
you know, neutralize dark paint and, you know, that's making the room look darker or smaller, or is a personal choice, you know, those kinds of things. But your realtor can specifically guide you.
because each house is going to be different.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because I, as you're talking, I'm sitting here trying to think, like, what would be the number one update you think, or the cheapest, easiest? And first thought is always paint, you know, because paint sometimes, well, we've talked about it before, but that red wall that you love, that I love, the potential buyer might not love it, and they're going to see that that's going to be a lot of work for them. But
Yeah.
cleaning, probably, you know, just getting everything straightened up.
And not
That's
just
the
a
best.
light dusting and cleaning, just a thorough spring
Right.
cleaning. Smells. Get rid of any
Yeah.
smells. Like if you had pets and, you know, you've got a room where there's pet odors,
Right.
get that flooring out, replace it, you know, right away without even asking any questions of
Right.
yourself. You want to take care of any odors, because that's going to be the number one thing that as soon as someone walks in the house
Yeah.
is going to really make a bad.
Find a judgmental friend to come into your house and tell you. Yeah, you know, I'm sure everybody knows, like, at least one judgmental person who will just come in and be like, "No, really, I can smell your litter box."
We have one in the corner who's offering. So to that end, I think that another mistake that potentially could happen with sellers that kind of covers all this is, you know, for sale by owner. I think that, you know, the stuff that we've talked about up to this point is stuff that an agent's going to help walk you through. We'll get pictures taken. We'll talk about what's going to be needing to be updated or cleaned or moved or whatever that might be. We use a showing service, so, well, 43 Homes does. So, you know, showings will be arranged. But for sale by owner, I mean, you know.
There are so many times that you can get tripped up, whether it's in doing the wrong thing that could result in it taking longer, causing more problems, or something that could relate to a legal issue, even down the road, because you didn't have your I's dotted and your T's crossed. We're professionals. We know what we're doing, and it's worth it for you to have our help.
There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I think people don't realize. The legalities, the paperwork. There's a lot of cogs in the wheel with lenders and title companies involved. And I, in fact, have a client who I'm representing on the buy side who was selling a condo on her own, and just last night was saying that it's not worth it. It's just there's so many headaches involved, and
you're not really going to save yourself any money,
No.
because your buyer's still going to come with an agent,
Right.
and it's going to be part of the contract that you're still paying the buyer's
have to pay
agent.
a portion of commission. So why not have yourself represented and protected?
And I think the biggest thing with for sale by owner is, in this market, you know, it is a strong seller's market, and you want the maximum exposure you can possibly have for your home.
Right.
And we know the channels, you know, and we're not an MLS only listing service here.
Right,
So we're
right.
doing targeted advertising. We're marketing your house, you know, everywhere that, you know, through the channels that we have available to
Right.
us. Special things that we pay for that's not seller paid for. And your goal as a seller should be to have the maximum number of people you can get through your house because it's a numbers game. The more
Right.
you get through, the more interest there is. And it's not uncommon these days for multiple offers, which is going
Right.
to drive your price higher. So, while you end up paying us for the service, it very well could mean you end up making more money because the additional exposure,
Right.
brought you extra additional buyers that, you get into a bidding war and the next thing you know, your price starts to go up. And what TJ and Janine were talking about, the legal and other pitfalls and the emotional part of this. You being the only go-to, and I've been on the buyer side
Right.
with for sale by owners, and I just shake my head because the mistakes that they're making, for themselves, and it works out for my buyers, to be honest.
Well, sometimes that for sale by owner will say something that will give the buyer a huge advantage, like, oh, thank goodness, we only owe $20,000 on this house, or we
Yeah.
really have to get out of here quick because we have to move in 3 weeks, and then we're just not going to be able to be here anymore.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. I think that there's a couple of points. As far as the commission being paid to the seller's agent, that is split between the buy side and our side. And as Wayne was saying, there's a lot of out-of-pocket expense that we're paying for with that marketing, showing service. I mean, there are things that factor in it. You're not getting
Photos.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that are provided. It's a business, and there's business expenses. So, but that is split between both. It's not just I'm not getting 7%, 6%, 5% or 4%, whatever it is that I'm charging you as the listing agent. It's being divided. And I mean, it.
And along those lines, if you're doing for sale by owner and not providing a buyer's commission,
Yeah.
you're already throwing up an obstacle. You're throwing up the suggestion, in my mind, that you're going to be difficult to work with. And if my buyer wants to look at your house or see your house or offer on your house, I'm still going to do it. But, know that we're representing the buyer's best interest, and we're watching out for the red flags that come up.
Yeah, and there is the legal aspect too. I mean, we're not allowed to practice law, and that's not what that is. But there's a lot of things to an offer that you need to be aware of, and the way things can be worded, and things that the buyers might be asking for, or things in the contract itself that you don't realize. You may be interpreting it one way. But it's not that way, and it's not stated that way if you read it. So
contracts, disclosures, all those things are copyrighted documents.
Yeah.
So you can't just go out on the internet and legally start using documents
Right.
that we basically pay for out of our board dues. So all of those things you have to provide, and we know what you have to provide. So I don't want to beat that dead horse.
Yeah, well, so but okay, so you've decided not to do for sale by owner, but choosing the right agent is important too. So as a seller, you should contact many, have them in, but there's going to be a fit there, I think, too. And what is the agent offering you as a service?
Is it MLS only? Are they going to do more than put it in MLS? I think, let's go through maybe some questions they should ask their agent.
Okay.
So what are you going to do to sell my house? What do you know about the area? And I think beyond that, it's personal connections as well. Are you going to work well with that individual? There are personalities here at play. We're all people, and you work well with a different personality type. So getting to know your agent and possible agents, I think is important as well, because we want this to be a good fit. If it's not a good fit from the beginning, then it's just not going to be a good experience for anyone, and I don't think that's what any of us want.
Right.
What other questions do you?
I mean, I think that you want to find an agent who's going to treat you as a person and not a number.
Right.
If this agent is just walking in and they're breezing through everything and they're ignoring you and your family and your needs, then that's probably not going to be a good fit. I mean, it is a business transaction, but it's a highly personal business transaction. So you want someone who's going to provide an individualized experience to you and your situation.
And I think too, you probably want to know, I mean, is your agent going to be marketing savvy? I mean, where are they going to be advertising your home? It
That's
could just
the
be the
specific
MLS,
question,
but
yeah.
is there stuff above and beyond? I know at 43 Homes. We do go above and beyond.
I mean, like I said, it's
Especially
not
me.
just MLS. It's not just MLS.
No, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different places to advertise. It does from the MLS go to the major sites that people are looking at, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. But there's a lot of other advertising places that agents can utilize as well. So I think that that's important too. And you don't want to limit the agent either. I mean, you know, an agent may say, well, I'm going to send out postcards, you know, just listed postcards, but where are they sending them? And you know, how is that working in your favor? That's all important stuff to look at. And don't I think as a seller, try to put limits on that either. I mean, we are professionals and we do know how to do this business. So you know, obviously we're going to do what you want, but I think that you don't want to limit that either.
You know, if you go to your doctor and you're, you know, something's wrong with you, do you tell your doctor how to fix it? You know, so let us do our job. And if certainly we're going to respect your wishes, you know, if there's something in particular you do or don't want us to do. But I think by and large, you know, just ask questions and be familiar with the agent. And not only is it knowing where to put it, but it's where to advertise it. It's knowing how to advertise it.
Right.
So there's multiple facets, I think, that goes into that. So.
You know, I've seen listings where actually I met with a client the other day, a potential client, and he'd had a previous house that he sold, and he said, well, what problems did you see with it? Why did it sit on the market so long? And I said, because your realtor didn't put any description in. I mean...
Or they put 3 pictures.
Right.
Yeah.
It's 3 pictures taken on a cloudy day, one of them sideways. You know, you want to see what they've done before for their clients.
Right.
And when I'm looking at listings for my clients and I see a listing that only has 3 pictures, I immediately think it's not worth showing because there's a reason they only put 3 pictures. And maybe the reason was, well, that's all the room they had on their phone that day. They took pictures. But,
on their phone.
but yeah, I mean, and hold your agent accountable. You know, if they
Yeah.
say they're going to do X, Y, and Z, you know, I'm not saying you have to go babysit your agent, but, you know, keep an eye on what they're doing and make sure people are keeping promises.
So we have had another question. Michelle's asking, where do you advertise and can a seller do their own open house? I wouldn't suggest it.
I wouldn't suggest doing your own open house. Doing your own open house is the same as being there for the showing. It's going to create an awkward situation for everybody, and you're potentially going to be giving away information that you shouldn't.
And I don't know, I mean, I know agents all have different opinions on open houses. I mean, I think that ultimately the decision is going to be up to the seller, but it does create very awkward if the seller is there. I've had it. You know, and the seller is volunteering information like, oh, look, I updated this, and it's just kind of weird.
It's important
for the
to that person and for the person that did it, and the buyer doesn't care.
Well, and how would if a seller was going to hold their own open house, how would they get that information out to buyers?
Exactly.
I mean, you know, we have access to that. To advertise those open houses, and I don't know that a seller on their own would have that. You could put up a sign in the neighborhood, I suppose, but
I mean, I email my buyers a list every week of open houses and listings twice a day that might fit their criteria. So, I mean, those are very targeted things that are going to very specific people that are looking for houses.
Yeah.
That you don't have on your own.
And I think the advertising question too. I mean, I think it just depends on how savvy your agent may be about advertising. There's print media, there is internet, there is social media. So, you know, I think that we like to be fully aware of all the places and potential there is for advertising. Some agents may not be. They may not care.
It comes down, I think, to targeting. You know, for one listing, you know, it maybe makes sense to be in certain places than the others.
Sure.
But I mean, I think some of the common places, you know, we'll do all the social channels, you know, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, you know, I do all of those, and I think you guys do as well. And not just always the, you know, organic posts, if you will, but we do some paid advertising with that stuff as well. As part of 43 Homes, and when you list with us, your listing is what's called syndicated. So it goes out to every search site that's out there, whether that's Zillow, Trulia, and not just those, but all the brokerages have usually a search engine built into their sites for looking for homes. So you're automatically syndicated to all of those places.
Right.
So syndication is a big thing because there's so many different search options available. You want to make sure that your brokerage that you're going with is syndicating listings, because you miss out on a potential buyer that way if it's not in all those potential search sites. And the paid advertising on the Zillow and the Trulia and featured properties are things that in the right situation we will do as well.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I mean, all searches for the most part in this day and age start online, so you definitely want to have
that's 90%, but I have a hard time believing it's even that low.
Right.
I would guess way higher than
I mean,
that.
here in Central Ohio, I think if you're in a much more
Depends
rural
on the
area, like
area,
some of the places in Northwest Ohio, you might be.
Yeah. I very rarely get a buyer that comes to me who hasn't already been
looking.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So, is anything else I think we added these mistakes?
I think we've kind of covered a lot, but if you have questions about maybe when you're thinking about listing and you're not sure, we will be open for questions at any time. So ask.
And the one thing I'll add, to kind of close out is, whether you're thinking about selling now or if it's in a near term, future here, whether that means a year or two, start with little projects now.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of sellers have good intentions and they wait and they wait and they wait, and then it gets to the time where the time is right for them to sell, and then they realize, oh, we've got to do all, I need to make these updates, I need to change this, fix that.
And it can be overwhelming.
And then they get overwhelmed, and it makes it stressful. So bite off little projects now.
Right.
Contractors, because of the economy and the amount of development that's happening around town, don't expect that you're going to call a contractor and they're going to be at your house tomorrow or even this week, because contractors are so busy with all the development that's going on. So my best advice to leave you with is to plan in advance. Don't do this by the seat of your pants, because ultimately I think it's going to cost you money. And that's I think what most sellers would like, is to get them, because you want to move on to whatever's next, and you've made an investment in your house, and it is an investment, so you might as well get money back out of it. So.
And let's talk now. Let's get you that knowledge that you need today, so that you can figure out, okay, I want to sell my house in a year. Great, well, let's go ahead and go in, take a look at your house, see what some things are that you might want to consider updating, so you can start that planning process together.
Right.
Let's get involved early. And then we have the ability here to send you monthly market reports for your neighborhood, so you can see, oh my goodness, things are shooting up in the neighborhood. I didn't think it was going to sell for another 6 months, but let's do it now.
Yeah.
Because it's going to change. Yeah. The market's going to change.
And I don't know, I know spring, summer are always very busy for home sales, but I don't know that there is one season better than another. I mean, there are benefits to any season. So, if selling is something that you've been thinking about, definitely let's have that conversation. There's no obligation. You don't have to sell in a month because you call us and have questions. I mean, part of what I love about what I do, and I'm sure TJ and Wayne and feel the same, is the education part and the helping. And we provide a service to you, and that's part of it, is being able to help answer those questions and talk about.
And we've been around the block.
Yeah.
So we know what to look for and what to do.
So with that,
thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
It was a pleasure as always. We'll be back next week, I think, on location. I suppose. So we'll look forward to seeing everybody next week. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Absolutely. Send us any questions you ever have. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. So, all right.
Ciao. Cheers.